are asking a question or speaking. And welcome everyone to the Corporate Membership and PR Training. My name is Malik Williams. I am currently the Area B2 Director, the incoming Division B Director, and I will be guiding us through this session today. And we're here to talk about the challenges and the requirements and all the best practices as we can come up with them in corporate clubs specifically. So I hope that's why you're here and that you will get a lot out of this session. All righty, So we're going to go through some basic information first, roles and responsibilities, because there is some core information that we do need to cover for all of the training. So the roles and responsibilities in and outside of the club meeting that normally you would cover for VPM and VPPR, will flash through that. Then we're going to look at special circumstances of corporate clubs in terms of dealing with corporate management and the challenges of recruiting in a closed environment, which seem to be the two big areas of concern with corporate clubs. And hopefully we will spend most of our time doing brainstorming solutions, talking about how to get to the answers and best practices, and do some Q&A as that comes up. So let's start with the basic roles and responsibilities. And we're looking at the VPM and VPPR here together. And again, we're just going to flash right through these. So VPM, as you know, you've got to have, before club meetings, you want to have members ready, have guest packets ready. Your VPPR, you want to keep your website and your social media and promotional materials updated. That's all before you even get to the meeting. If you're the VPM, you want to be ready to greet guests and give them packets, whether it's virtually or in person, help them with any membership applications for those who are ready. For the VPPR in the meetings, you're going to distribute promotional materials for your members to pass out or distribute in other places, and report out to the club on how things are going with the PR efforts and announce any new campaigns that are coming up. Outside of club meetings, if you're the VPM, you want to conduct membership building programs. You're in charge of those and follow up with any guests who have visited with you, and you coordinate with the VPPR. And of course, you're going to attend the executive committee meetings. If you're the VPPR, outside those meetings, your job is to publicize the Toastmasters brand and promote your club. And of course, maintain all of your collateral, which could be your website and newsletter. And also, as a member of the executive committee, you'll be attending those executive committee meetings. On the executive committee, basically, each of those offices is providing a report to the committee on their efforts and proposing any new campaigns for their areas that fall under their area of responsibility. So that's the quick overview. I told you I was going to go right through it. That's basically the whole training you would normally get for the VPM or VPPR in a nutshell in a minute. But there are special circumstances for corporate clubs, and that's why we have this training, so that we can talk about what goes on specifically in corporate clubs that's different than in open or community clubs. So right now, why don't you just take a moment and in the chat box, share what is your biggest challenge in recruiting or retaining members in your corporate club, whether that's a club you're in now or a corporate club you've been in the past. What's your biggest challenge in recruiting or retaining members? And I'll give you just a moment to go ahead and throw something in the chat there. It's a quiet group. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any responses in the chat box. So let's get a little prompt and start with some things that have come back. I did see, thank you, Jennifer, lack of advertising. Okay. Well, here are some of the things. We actually did a quick poll, put something out on Facebook and Twitter, asking people for their input from all over. And here are some of the suggestions or some of the ideas that people had about what their biggest challenges were. So I'm seeing pandemic caused clubs to dissolve and members move. Yeah, reestablishing momentum after that. Getting management buy-in. That's a lot of what we heard about. Some of the biggest challenges, lack of the management and HR support of Toastmasters being an educational program. I think a lot of times when corporations, when the management and the HR hear about it, one of the things that we hear is that they think of it as a club, as an extracurricular activity, as opposed to something that actually can lend itself to professional development. Toastmasters having to meet on their break time, as opposed to the organization actually providing time for people to attend Toastmasters. They tell them, oh yeah, sure you can do it, but you got to do it on your own time. You can do it if you do it on your lunch or if it's after work. It's competing against courses that are directly related to the job. A lot of times when companies are looking at Toastmasters, they're saying, well, we provide training for our employees already. We have our own internal training sessions, or we outsource training for people, or we pay for college. We have tuition reimbursement or we support other kinds of training. So why should we do this? And then letting employees who aren't already members know about meetings with limited exposure. Maybe you don't have access to the internal website. I'm seeing in the chat people saying, other than getting the management buy-in, why should I take time out from work to join? That's great, Peggy. I see you getting the corporation to okay when you're in the middle of a corporate takeover. Yeah, that's probably not the time they're thinking about expanding things like this. Individually, we also hear about members changing departments or roles. All of a sudden, they can't make it anymore. When members leave the organization, if it's a corporate club that requires that the members be members of the organization, all of a sudden, you can't be a member of the club anymore because you're not a member of the company. And then meeting fatigue. People are just tired. Maybe, I know a lot of clubs meet either on lunch break time or right after work, which means, oh, now I'm extending my day or I'm missing my lunch break. And then there's simply just people, oh, I'm just too busy. I just don't have time for it. So all of these, again, really kind of come back to either dealing with management or dealing with people in that closed environment. And corporate management really is going to be questioning. They're questioning the value of Toastmasters. They're questioning whether or not their employees are going to still be productive if they're taking time out for this. And they're questioning about whether or not it's fair to allow some employees to go when maybe other employees don't have the same access or aren't allowed or aren't able to go. And then when you look at trying to recruit in a closed environment, you have access to a limited pool of members. You don't have the whole world open to you like a community club might, and you don't have the same access to the public relations channels that other clubs might have. Social media and things like that aren't really going to help you if you're promoting your club out in the world, but the world can't come join your club. And then Toastmasters incentives may not be available for a corporate club in the same way that they're available to the community clubs as well. And it looks like somebody closed the breakout room. So if we get booted out, just heads up, it looks like somebody closed the breakout rooms. I hope they'll undo it. But if we get booted out, then we'll just have to reset and come back in a few minutes, okay? All right, so let's talk solutions in just a moment. And actually, let's figure out what's going on before we do that. I'm going to take a brief pause here as we figure out exactly what's going on. And then when we come back, we're going to start talking about solutions as opposed to problems.
I'll go to the main room and try to see what's going on.
Thank you. Thank you, Jean. Yeah, I think somebody just probably clicked a button to shut down the breakout room.
They're closing.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay.
We had somebody accidentally, who was a co-host, accidentally close out our breakout rooms. So we're reopening the breakout rooms. So
It was like a calisthenic moment, running from one room to another and running back.
All right, welcome back. We'll give it just a moment. Hopefully is everyone back with us, I think. Yeah, that was good. Everybody just came back. So that's just a little quick brain refresher for you in case you in case you got booted out, in case you weren't paying attention. We had a minor glitch, but we're all back now and we're going to continue on. It was actually at a good stopping point. So we were talking about some of the challenges that we have in corporate clubs. Let's start talking solutions. So what kinds of things might you see as solutions? And I know that's probably why you're here in training. You're like, I thought you were going to tell me. But let's see first. I do have some ideas about solutions and some suggestions that I've received from other places. What solutions or suggestions do you have? And remember, the two main areas we're talking about in terms of challenges with corporate clubs, dealing with corporate HR and management, and recruiting when you have a limited pool of potential new members. So what thoughts do you have? And you can raise your hand or you can unmute and just share.
I have
Ken,
something, Malik.
I saw Ken and then Jean.
Okay, well, I think this comes home for me. A corporate club that was very close to my heart at Caesar's Palace had to close, and everybody moved away. It was just devastating. But I think to get to solutions, one of the first steps is to set up a meeting with either HR or the key management person in the corporation, reintroduce Toastmasters to them, and pitch to them. It's like a sales call. Pitch to them what the benefits are going to be to their employees and how little it's going to cost for such a great return.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. I think that's a really good point, is that getting corporate institutional buy-in is critical. It's one thing to have a club that's just set up at a company. It's another thing for it to really be a part of that company's culture and for the company to have adopted it as something that they feel is theirs. And so getting them to get that buy-in is key. Jean, what were you going to say?
I'm finding out more and more lately that for a lot of companies, Toastmasters actually checks the box for a lot of EEO requirements.
Mm-hmm.
So we think about the training aspect of it, but we don't think about the EEO aspect of it, because it is inclusive and it is multicultural in many situations. So sometimes what we're trying to do is look at, like, explain to management, this is an EEO thing, and getting it advertised in a lot of the EEO newsletters and getting that buy-in from management as for that avenue, instead of just training, looking at it as a chance to meet people from all different backgrounds.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point in terms of talking about going beyond just what we tend to think about, maybe in terms of what Toastmasters is and what Toastmasters offers, and really tying it more to the organization's objectives and goals. And one of those might be EEO requirements, allowing people to work across divisions and across different disciplines, is the word I was looking for, and just really to interact with people they might not normally have the opportunity to interact with, and learn from them can help with that. Thank you. Anybody else? Any thoughts at this point?
Can you repeat the question again, Malik, please?
Yeah, we're just talking about solutions. What are some ideas that you might have about how to address the challenges with either the corporate buy-in to having a Toastmasters club, or the fact that there's a limited pool of potential members because they all have to come from within the company? And I see Lynn. Yeah. Oh, did you have a suggestion, Jennifer?
Well, for me, the challenges, because I'm in the business of buying apartments, and I have to know relationship if you don't have either Toastmaster or multifamily, we have to have a relationship so that and know the other party's goal. Because if there is no meeting of mind, how can you connect? And how can that person stay, whether in Toastmaster or multifamily? And that's my suggestion.
Okay, and so now let me ask you this just as a follow-up. Are you talking about sort of like what am I trying to say? A geographically diffused company where they've got locations all over? Or are you trying to do something within one multifamily development?
Geographically, yeah. But either way, it just have to connect so that we have a common goal. So that whether it's in Toastmaster or multifamily, that they can stay in the same club and they don't keep moving. They will follow certain leaders and what their goal is. That's my point.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what we were saying about getting that corporate buy-in, so that if people are moving around but it's something that's valued throughout the organization, then people are going to be allowed to continue to participate even as they are shuffling and shifting around. So, thank you. Yeah, Linda, I see your hand. And then
Yes,
Brandon.
I'm not in a corporate club. I didn't realize what this was about, but I'm glad I'm in it because I'm a VP of PR. And I think it helps me to hear these issues, and they're not that different really from what we're facing. And one of the things that came to mind that I think would be a great couple of ways for a corporation, and even for our own club, which I'm going to propose to our club, is three things. One is maybe tie it to some type of charitable activity where maybe, for every person that joins the club, there's something done or something, so that the company can say, we're helping this charity and it's tied in with Toastmasters. I don't know how it could be done. Maybe if the company, like Ken said, the HR director said, for every person that takes the Toastmaster program, we're going to make a donation. The other thing would be to find somebody who is highly regarded in the company, one of the top people. If it could be the top person, the president or one of the leaders of the company, to take the course and to lead by example by saying, look at this, our own president is in the Toastmaster club and you get to hang out with the president, or you get to hang out with the top person, whatever that position is, because they're an influencer in your company, so to speak. And so I think, and the third thing is make it an award or reward for like good service, like the employee of the month gets a parking space and I don't know what you call it, gift certificate to Toastmasters or something, so that you're promoting it and also giving it out as a reward or an award of some kind that they've achieved, or some sales type award.
Interesting. Thank you, Linda. I think that's an interesting approach to think of building it into that corporate environment in a way that it's part of the reward system. And I know a lot of times we think about building it in so that it's part of the sort of fringe benefit packages that the company offers, and expanding it in that way, having them think about it as something low cost that they can offer their employees that expands what they're able to say they give to their employees. But I like the idea of actually making it an actual award or reward for good work. Excellent. Brandon, and then Jean again.
Yeah, I honestly think that when we present it to leadership, it has to be the solution to the problems. You think every company has an issue, some problem somewhere, and all we have to do is just make sure that there's somebody who represents the Toastmasters, who's at the table, who's listening at those meetings, so that when they are discussing those concerns, they can now voice their opinion and show how Toastmasters is truly a solution to what their problem is, whether it be communication, leadership, organization. You think about it, if you get the right person in there just to sell it to that leadership committee, and then also have them buy it in as something with their culture. Like, this is a problem right now that many businesses are having issues with, is retention and getting people to buy into the company. So having something like this, it shows them that they're dedicated to their employee personal development, and their professional development. So, you know, just really having to present it that way. You have to present it like that as a marketer. You know, you have to really sell it, and you have to buy in as much as you say. But I love what she said, having somebody in management attend some meetings as well, because I'm the president over at the Lunchtime Talkers, and the president of the Urban Chamber of Commerce, he's a member of
Mhm.
our meeting, and when he comes, it's so much more impactful. Another thing that I make sure that he does is that he puts the word out to the community and also to the other members of the Urban Chamber. So it is really effective. Whenever he puts out anything, we get a huge response, and then we get a lot more people to come and visit. So those are my suggestions.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think it's critical to tie the organization to, rather to tie Toastmasters and what Toastmasters offers to the organization's values, the organization's needs. And then like you said, and like Linda said, having that leader who signs off, not just saying, yeah, you can go ahead and do it, but actually participates, or actually at least even periodically comes in and says, hey, this is a great thing. I'm a member. In the clubs that I've been in that started as corporate clubs or pseudo corporate clubs even, it's made a critical difference to have that department leader or organization leader sign off and actually be a member, because other people are like, oh, he's in there, oh, she's in there, yeah, okay, then I'll join for sure. Some people are going to do it just for that reason. That's just the truth of it. All right, Jean, you had something else.
Yeah, one of the arguments that I would always hear is, hey, I have to work with these people. I don't want to hang out with them later. And you know, and that's sadly, but what we tried to do is emphasize that this is a chance for you to learn about other departments. Maybe another department has a higher promotion opportunity or something like that. And we would try to have open houses, even if the upper management wasn't in the club, of you know, the accounting department, to come and talk about what's going on in the accounting department, and people might come for that open house and then hopefully meet people and see that they can learn about the other jobs, so they have more of an in when they're applying instead of just reading a job description.
I think that's excellent. Yeah, having again, and I keep hearing these things that are coming back to this theme for me of tying it to the organization, tying Toastmasters to the organization's values and needs, being able to say, here's an opportunity for you to cross-train your employees, or here's an opportunity for you to present about your departments or get people to know about what's going on in other areas of the company, so that you don't have to maybe do a formal cross-training, but you're getting more buy-in across the organization. I think that's a great way to pitch it to the corporation or the company. I keep saying corporation, but it's not always a huge corporation. Sometimes it's just a little company. I think you all really came up with a lot of the things that I've heard from other people in terms of possible solutions. Some of the things you're talking about, looking at HR and management, treat Toastmasters as training and not a club. That goes back to offering it as a benefit, or asking management for ways the club can help the organization. That's one of the things that I heard from someone I thought was a really good approach, is to actually go to the company management and say, here's what we do. Here's what we train people to do. How can we help this organization meet its goals and realize its mission? And once you get them to start thinking about it in that way, they can start looking at Toastmasters as an asset, as opposed to just something extra that's there. And then, of course, when you're doing your PR messaging, it's critical to align it with the organization's goals and objectives. We have a lot of standard templates for things that we use throughout Toastmasters, flyers and things like that, that maybe you might need to do a little extra and go the non-standard route, so that when you're putting out promotional materials, it's using the language of the company, or you're co-branding, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but you're co-branding with the organization that where that Toastmasters Club is located, so that people see it and it really is tied to the organization. As far as recruiting in a closed environment, I'm wondering if anybody creates club newsletters and maybe get permission to be able to distribute that once a month or once a quarter to all employees, or if there's already some kind of newsletter that goes out to all employees, being able to have a Toastmasters corner or a column or even just a couple of paragraphs that go into that newsletter that's already going out to everybody to help talk about why people might be interested in joining Toastmasters. Another thing is to possibly get HR management to send the information. Sometimes we think about us having to do it and we get permission and we send it out, and we know, just like we were saying with, it might help to have those managers actually come to the meeting or actually be part of the club. Well, maybe it would help to have the information coming not directly from the club, but coming from HR or coming from someone in management to send it out. People might give it a little more weight. And then creating recruitment events that provide a break from the normal work atmosphere. Like Jean said, I don't want to hang out with those people. I hang out with them all day. Well, if you're doing something, give people a reason to want to break away from their normal work day. Maybe it's something that's not just another meeting, because we know what happens in a Toastmasters meeting. We know they can be fun and energizing, but a lot of people, all they hear is meeting, and the rest of it, they're just tuned out because they don't want another meeting. So those were some additional suggestions. Before we get to this, what thoughts do you have on any of these suggestions and how you might be able to implement these? Do you think these things might work in your clubs?
Malik, I got one for you.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think that all the suggestions are amazing. Another thing I think that's very important is timing. So you think onboarding right now, you have a lot of businesses who are getting new employees. So making sure you have representation during that training, just let them know, hey, we have a Toastmasters here. It's to work on your leadership, your communication, development, and just letting them know from the beginning that option is there, so that that they know that that's now part of the culture. So I would really take advantage of that time and take advantage of that opportunity now while we have it.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point too. People are looking at, especially as we hear more companies talking about the challenges they're having getting talent. They're talking about, oh, there are not enough people to come on board. Well, maybe you need a little something extra if you're looking for something that you can add as you're trying to get people to come back to work, as you're ramping up operations and trying to get more employees on board, and the ones you had before have moved on to other things. Be the company that offers something a little extra that other people aren't offering, or other organizations aren't offering. So I think that's a great suggestion.
And you think about it, that sounds really good. If you got like a recruiting table and you got your flyer right there and you're telling people, hey, we work on your development too.
Right?
You got my wheels spinning
Exactly. Not only you're coming back to work, but you're also getting an opportunity here to develop and start looking at a career path or building for future leadership, either within the organization or wherever, although that might not be popular to say to the company. We encourage people to develop their professionals so they can move on somewhere else. Linda, I see your hand again.
Yeah, my only question is there a list of all of the corporate names that that have clubs? Because maybe if you showed a list and said, here's the top companies in the world, and XYZ, all these companies have clubs, kind of to show them that it's their, they want to be in good company. Because companies react to that. If they say, oh, wow, there's whatever X number of companies in our area, they're all doing it. I don't know the information, but maybe it is something that could sway them to help be more, led down that path, to see that Toastmasters is something that is recognized by other corporations. They're not just like an oddball doing it.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I see Jean has her hand up. I don't know, Jean, if you were going to answer that, but that is actually one of the resources that we're going to look at in just a few minutes actually does have that. I'm tongue-tied today for some reason. One of the resources on the resource list we're going to look at actually does have a list of Fortune 500 companies that have Toastmasters Club and talks about the benefit of that. And it's available, that information and that resource to pass on to companies or to send to them to help bolster your argument is available on the Toastmasters website. And Jean, Jean and then Jennifer.
I was just going to piggyback on what Brandon said. Don't forget also to advertise at your company's health fairs. Get your flyer out there, or if there's a big conference, I've seen the idea of if you can provide donuts, these donuts provided to you by such and such Toastmaster Club. We meet at this time and this date, and finding creative ways to advertise. But people don't often think of health fairs or open seasons or benefits fairs or things like that, or if there's a retirement seminar, like a mid-career retirement seminar, or a session about promotions and promotion opportunities, that to be right there with flyers about your club.
Yeah, that's great. I think there a lot of larger organizations especially have those benefits. I know the city of Las Vegas has one at least once a year. They have those benefit fairs, and you'll see all different kinds of organizations represented there. Maybe if they don't have that and you can't be present for every presentation like that, if you can get HR to allow you to have something that's specifically designed to go into a new employee packet, just to include the information with what they pass out to all the employees as they're being onboarded. That's another option. So, great suggestion. Jennifer.
Yeah, I just want to add, the company also, like in Toastmaster, we have to know who we are. Like, hi, everyone, I'm a coach in Colorado River Toastmaster. We attend every Tuesday, 6:45 to 7:45. If you are willing to step up for 2 Toastmaster, let me know. So introduce yourself, just like I did. Thanks.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. You are modeling good Toastmasters behavior. But yes, it does help, and it helps to make personal connections. You got to let people know who you are and put a face on it, as opposed to just sort of some faceless organization introducing yourself. That gives me another idea. Maybe you could do something in your corporate club where every month, if you're allowed to send out information, you profile one of your members and how that member has benefited from being in Toastmasters. And so if there's something going out to the whole organization, people start to see, oh, I know that person. Oh, I didn't realize they were Toastmasters. Or I know Jennifer. I didn't realize that one of the reasons she's been so successful here is because Toastmasters helped her gain confidence and stand up and learn how to introduce herself. So wonderful. Thank you. Any other thoughts at this moment? All right, well, let's talk about some of those resources then that we have available. And I will put this, I have this specific screen. Actually, I have the whole presentation as a PDF, so I'll drop that in the chat in just a minute so that you can open it and download it if you like, and I'm sure it can be emailed out later. But the club officer tools, there's a page on the Toastmasters website that just has club officer tools. There's also a club officer tutorials page. The links to those are here. Tools have things like the club leadership manual and other leader tools that you might want to download. The tutorials actually have video tutorials. So if you really are new to the VPM or VPPR role, and you're like, okay, I really need a little bit more about the core role, there are tutorials that walk you through some more of the details specifically for those roles on the club, on the Toastmasters website. There's also a new member orientation presentation. That link will take you to someplace where you can download a PDF, a PowerPoint presentation that you can then customize for your club and your organization and use when new members come in. You can go through it with them and have a discussion, and it'll help formalize things so that you are having or providing the same onboarding experience for each new member that comes into your club, sort of like companies do when they have new employees coming in. That Fortune 500 companies article and press release is there as well. There's a link to that. Linda, I think that's what you were asking about in terms of being able to provide a little more information, a little more corroborating evidence for companies that may be a little skeptical about the benefits, or is anybody else doing this? I'm always surprised at the number of people who haven't even heard of Toastmasters. So this is sort of a good way of sort of bolstering that evidence. And then one critical thing, especially for the VPPR, is the Toastmasters brand portal. When you go to that brand portal, you'll have access to all kinds of things like stationery, business cards, things that you can download and customize. There are guidelines that will help you make sure that any materials you produce are brand compliant. That's very important. In particular, I noticed that, in case you didn't know, the Toastmasters brand manual has been updated again. So if you downloaded a brand manual and you've been in Toastmasters for a while and you have a brand manual from a few years ago, well, it was updated last year and they've updated again already just last month. And I noticed the corporate club guidelines that you see here, this is not a summary, that's the total amount of the corporate club guidelines. So it does give you a couple of things about how to use the corporate logo and the Toastmasters logo in conjunction with each other. That's about all it says in terms of specifically addressing corporate clubs. But hey, it's an improvement from the old one, which a few years ago didn't even say anything to corporate clubs at all. And I didn't even know they realized corporate clubs existed. So that is part of the brand portal. When you go to the brand portal, I encourage you download the new brand manual, look through it, make sure that everything you're doing is brand compliant. And in that brand portal and brand manual, there's also access to stock photos that Toastmasters has provided. They keep improving those. Some of the old stock photos they had were kind of cheesy. They've gotten a lot better over the years. So here we are at the end of the formal presentation, but what questions do you have, as we still have a few minutes here, what questions do you have as you're thinking about going back to your club and what challenges you're going to face as a VPM or VPPR in your corporate clubs?
I was going to say, we just went hybrid. We officially announced that we're a hybrid club now. And we're hoping that that helps us get new members. So I think if you're a corporate brand type of thing, you may be able to expand out to other locations in the country or world, depending on the size of your company, and try to grab more people from everywhere. Maybe. We're trying it. I know we picked up one new member out of California, which is, we're in Nevada, so that was a huge deal for us. And so we're really trying to expand that. And I think that might help for corporate clubs too, but I don't know if it's allowed. And then how that works, I don't know.
I think it's a good point. And in fact, I know of a couple of instances. One, the City of Las Vegas Viva Las Voices Club. It's not technically a corporate club, but the club is primarily city employees. The city actually pays for its employees to be members of that club. And they've gone hybrid. One of the things they've decided is that's actually going to give them access to more city employees, because before, we're talking about the city. People could be working anywhere in different offices and buildings all over the city. Well, now people can log in from anywhere and access the meetings where they are, and it's still part of the city. They don't have to think, oh, well, I'd love to join, but I can't because I don't have time to go all the way over to that other building where the meetings are held. Peggy, I saw you put something in the chat about being a member of an international organization. And so that might be a great option for when you're talking about, and I'm looking around, I'm like, I don't know if Peggy made it back into the room, but when you're talking about a really large company that has locations all over, having a hybrid or online format may be really the way to go, not because you have to, but because it gives you access to more people who can participate. If I only have a lunch hour and the meetings at lunchtime, well, maybe I'm willing to sit at my desk and attend the meeting online, but I can't really pick up, go somewhere, get to the meeting, participate, leave the meeting and go back to my desk. That just might not work.
And I think to dovetail onto that, I think after what we've all been through, it's been kind of proven and evident that people need to know how to present online and in real life. So I think corporations should embrace that. And I think that would be a huge sales pitch to any company, that do you want our people to look good when they're with these clients, or do you want them to look like a bunch of clowns?
Absolutely. I think as people have over the past year realized how valuable actually that online communication portion can be, that the reach and access it can grant, people are going to start looking at the folks who have skills to do that online. And so one of the ways that clubs might look at doing a hybrid meeting is if your club meets every week, let's say, maybe you do half your meetings in person and half your meetings online. That may be one hybrid model that will work, that will allow you to get more participation, and you can help people get the experience of presenting to a live audience, as well as get the experience of how to effectively present online. Jean.
I was with one group where it was a 24-hour operation. Half the people work days and half the people work swing or evenings. And they were thinking, well, do we need 2 Toastmaster clubs? And the suggestion was made, you're meeting every other week, so have the daytime people meet every other week and have the evening people meet every other week. So it's one club. The officer thing is a little dicey, but I think it's a small price to overcome. Then the daytime people could attend all of them or vice versa, but at least it offers that opportunity to the people who didn't have that option if they were working evenings or nights. And then the other part is if you have people in outlying posted duties where there's 1 or 2 people, now they can come and join the club if you have that hybrid or online presence.
Yeah, I think taking different shifts into account is important. A lot of times we think in terms of the 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. business model, and so we do it based on that. But like I know Hail Caesars, you're thinking about Caesars employees, casino employees. Well, you've got people working all kinds of shifts. So maybe you have a meeting that is available, the first week of the month you meet at one time, the second week you meet at a different time. I love it. I love it. What other thoughts do you have as we head closer to wrapping this up, about any challenges or anything that you wanted to get out of this session that you're like, I still don't think I quite heard a response to that? And Brandon, I know you had something.
Yeah, I was just asking, in our district, do we have a corporate coach?
A corporate
club
coach.
That makes sense for me.
Jean, Ken, I'm going to toss that one to you.
We've been begging Malik over the years to become our corporate club chair. I'm serious, and every time he says, but now he's gonna be a division director, so maybe we can get a collateral duty over there. Because I do think our district would benefit absolutely from a corporate club chair.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great idea, having somebody who's really just focused on that. Brandon, were you volunteering for that?
It's a good idea. I got a lot of projects that I'm working on right now. But we can revisit it in about a month. I think it'd be a great opportunity, and I think it'd be helpful for us and Toastmasters.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna put Jason on the spot here, because we are in the process, as you may know, of our transition of creating our club growth committee, and the chairperson of our club extension, the club extension chair, is none other than Jason Leduc. So he's going to help us build our corporate clubs, and he may very well recommend that we create subcommittees to focus on specific areas. So Jason, anything you want to add there?
know
No,
I'll
I think
be
that's great.
volunteering.
I think having someone who's focused on the challenges of corporate clubs, because I've been a coach for a corporate club, and it is very different. The challenges are very different from a community club. So yeah, it's as club extension chair, if we're going to grow our corporate clubs in the Valley, we need to have some focus on those challenges.
I think that's great. That's good news, Brandon. I'm glad you asked that question and glad to hear that that's already in the works. I know corporate clubs were especially hard hit by the pandemic, just because with people not being at work and tying that activity to work, it just kind of went away with the showing up at the office. So that it's been challenging. So I'm glad to know that there are concerted efforts to kind of rebuild and address corporate clubs directly. All right. Any other questions right now? Any unresolved issues? Brandon, I saw that was what you had put in the chat, but before we got started, really, you had asked something else and I can't remember what it was. We started, you were like, are we going to talk about, oh, I know what it was, talk about folding in another company into an existing club, was that?
Correct. So we're at the Urban Chamber, and I want to get one of our members to have their team begin to come over to the chamber.
Got you. Well, I think it's interesting because corporate clubs are just, in essence, part of the challenge with corporate clubs is there really is no Toastmaster structure called corporate club. They're closed clubs, they're advanced clubs. And a corporate club is typically just a closed club where the membership requirement is that people be members of the company that's sponsoring the club. But you can certainly talk to whoever it is that's sponsoring that club about being willing to open that membership up some. And that was actually one of the suggestions we got from feedback. So I'm glad you brought this up. About possibly opening up either to a partner organization that the company already works with. So they're expanding it not just to the organization's members, but to their members of their partner organizations or to similar organizations within their area. It might be a way of expanding the club and, again, speaking to the company's needs, fostering collaboration between that company and other companies, other organizations that they already work with or want to work with. Being able to open up that membership in the Toastmasters Club, you can provide that sort of as the entree for them to make connections between their people and people in other organizations that they want to build those connections with. So that might be one way of approaching that. Did that address what you were thinking about, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, we just got to take notes, y'all. I mean, I think we got the recording. Jason, you got the blueprint. Jason got the blueprint.
It might come in 2 recordings thanks to our little glitch, but we should be getting something after the session is over. Is there anything else in the last minute? I think the room's probably going to close out on us in just a minute here. But if there's nothing else, I just want to say thank you all for your time and your energy and your attention in this session. I appreciate you being here. I really hope you got something out of it. Oh, and before we go, I do need to really quickly, if I haven't already lost the opportunity, drop that PDF in the chat. So I just dropped that into the chat for you. That's a PDF of the presentation if you want to download that. And then I also have the PDF of just the page with the links to all those resources. I just dropped that in the chat. So you can download either or both of those and make use of them. And other than that, thank you again. On to the next session. Enjoy, and I'll be talking to you all soon.
Thank you, Malik.
Thank you.
Take it easy, Malik.
All right, take care.
So Malik, don't you want to be the corporate club chair for the district?
No,
Not the corporate extension, like the resource for corporate clubs.
no.
We'll talk, we'll talk, we'll talk.
I love how you hear a hard no as, yeah, we'll talk.
We'll talk.
I'm starting a new job not tomorrow, Monday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Starting a new job Monday, and also